To be, not to be. Welcome to Denmark. Actually, welcome to Copenhagen. Yup, an audiophile in Copenhagen. I don't know what's gonna be in this video. As you know, this is the format. I'm here for my real job. As you know, I'm an archaeologist. But apart from that, we're gonna explore some amazing record shops and jazz, because this is a famous land of jazz, okay? That's also why I wanted to do a video here. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, let's go! Copenhagen, as the original name goes. As you can see already from the first shots, a lot of bikes, guys. This is a truly city dedicated to bikes. Incredible architecture, incredible statues, beautiful green areas, beautiful churches. I really enjoyed my stay there. And I was lucky, there was a lot of sun, just a little bit of rain on one of these days. Another thing I loved was these little cafes tucked beneath the little churches or shops, hidden in the little streets here and there. But there were also large streets with a lot of shops, with modern and old buildings in the middle. This is the entrance to the famous Christiansburg, where the parliament is. And finally, I'm camouflaged. I have the same lookings of the local people. Finally, with my beard, with my colors, it's always a problem. I always jump out from the crowd wherever I am. Here I feel at home. I look Danish. And I also loved the feeling of just walking around. It was very nice. Yes, there were a lot of tourists, but the people were very nice when you asked for something. I mean, just a great climate, a great feeling. Here we are at the Lego shop. Clearly Lego is Danish, and here you can see all the different logos. Hi guys, there are a lot of little shops tucked down beneath the road level in Copenhagen, as other many types of shops, including record shops. Here we have, as you can see, 6 beat records. So let's try to take a look inside. Now this is the perfect venue for metalheads, absolutely. It's probably the most well-supplied shop of the area for this type of music. Obviously, clearly, hard rock and all the different subtypes. A lot of records. Almost all of the shops we're gonna see are filled with records, but not also. As you can see, cassettes, CDs. A lot of little gizmos and objects. Very cool. I like this. I forgot to mention something important of this square. We are in the King's New Square here in Copenhagen. And behind me, you can see that red kiosk and that huge building with that lady with the lamp on top. Now that is the building where Valdemar Poulsen, for the first time in history, recorded the first magnetic recording with his own created machine. We're going to talk about this more in depth in our series, The Tape Dialogue. So don't miss that. Here is a link to the first episode. So this was the headquarters of the Copenhagen Telegraph company, which was one of the main structures, main facilities connected to this huge telegraphic connection between Russia, Norway, and Denmark. And as you can see on that building, you can still see the writing of what it was originally built for or used for. Incredible. And in the kiosk, there were a few telegraphs actually, because we're talking about 1898 when Valdemar recorded. So you can imagine that nobody could send messages if not by the use of a telegraph. Very interesting. Another fantastic aspect of Copenhagen that I deeply enjoyed and loved is the wealth of independent cafes. These little places where you can eat delicious stuff, breakfast or sandwiches or drinks, within this artist environment, we could say. Highly engaging with cool people discussing about different things, very relaxed, informal, a little expensive. This is the entrance of the city hall, with these strange elements. Copenhagen is also very famous for one of his authors, Christian Andersen, for all his amazing stories that we all grew up with. And the Tivoli Gardens, which is practically an amusement park in the city center. Fantastic. And the symbol of Copenhagen, the Little Mermaid, which comes clearly from one of the stories of Andersen. Here behind me is another shop on one of the main roads. It's called Sound, and it looks like a little more mainstream. I don't know. Let's take a look. Yes, this was a nice little shop. It was very small, not too big, not too small, medium size, with a lot of normal stuff. I mean, this is meant just for young people who are looking for current releases mainly, I would say. But there were a little corners with some interesting little things here and there. And I like the way how all these little places are furnished. It's always something cool to discover. I enjoyed that. So behind me we have another place. This seems quite small, and it looks like they're dealing with used music, but not only probably. Let's take a look. Cool entrance, very underground, and cool name. Indeed, here we have a lot of used music, finally. It's not that often easy to find used albums, used records. Here they have a lot of all types, mainly I would say rock. Even though they had a nice little area behind in the back dedicated mainly to jazz. You had to leave your backpack in a corner, otherwise they wouldn't let you in. In here, in fact, I finally started to find a few albums of jazz artists, Danish artists, even though a lot of them were scratched, I must admit. So in the end, I didn't find anything. But I liked the place. Here we are in one of the most beautiful venues of Copenhagen, the Glyptotek Museum, where we have a very large collection of different, actually, artists and objects, statues, paintings, because in fact this comes from the private collection of Carl Jacobsen, who is behind the famous Carlsberg beer. In the center, in the core, we find this incredible, beautiful winter garden. Wow, this was just amazing. Very humid, but the atmosphere was just unique. Not only the objects, the collection is beautiful, but the way, the display of these is just fabulous. I mean, it's something that I think it's already worth the visit. Besides what's inside, the way it is proposed. Beautiful. Hi guys, next stop, Donna Cord, which seems specialized in classical music. Looks like a very elegant and new shop. Let's take a look. Yes, Donna Cord is indeed the main stop for classical music. Although, as you can see, here we are not looking after dedicated to vinyl, unfortunately, yes. And this explains a lot of the approach of who likes classical music. A lot of times they're not after vinyl, analog. They just want a clean digital recording. In fact, here is CD heaven. It's crammed filled with CDs, but not only classical music, as you can see. They also have these old type ragtime blues, swing of the 30s, 40s, a little section of that. But all the rest was classical music, but there was a lot of stuff.
They told me where to find a great jazz shop.
So here we are at a very interesting place, Jazz Cup. As the name says, it ain't only a music shop, specifically jazz shop, but also a little cafe. Let's take a look inside.
Yes, actually this is one of the best places, probably the best place to buy modern, current jazz, Danish jazz, and not only clearly, but mainly Danish jazz. Plus, this is also a live session venue place where you can listen to live jazz music. They had a wealth of concerts before my arrival. I saw the program. Very, very cool. That's the owner there who kindly allowed me to do all these videos. And it's practically all jazz, also a little section of cassettes. There was also a lot of CDs. As you can see, beer kegs. Very, very nice and relaxing atmosphere. And also, you can enjoy a cup of coffee or something. The only problem is that I am seeking for old jazz, old school jazz, 50s, 60s, 70s, and I just didn't find practically none. And finally we reach one of the most iconic sites of Copenhagen, the road and canal of Nyhavn. Please forgive all of my pronunciations, guys who are Danish. I'm clearly butchering everything. Beautiful. I mean, this is clearly one of the most touristic parts of the city, but it's absolutely worthwhile walk here. Here we are in another fantastic museum, the National Museum of Denmark, where you finally can find a lot of archaeology, which clearly is my soft spot. Incredible artifacts. Here I'm just highlighting the most amazing ones, all in gold and very flashy, but there's a lot of stuff. From prehistory all the way up to Celtic and most recent artifacts, including these incredible rune inscriptions on these stele. Even if you're not too interested in history, I would do a stop here. Absolutely worthwhile. Also for the amazing Viking collection in ships and artifacts. This is a Valkyrie. Fantastic. Another aspect that greatly shocked me is the amount of tattoo shops all over Copenhagen. It's filled.
So here we are at another venue, and this is Cord. It's a little out from the city center, more in the periphery, and here they should finally have some Danish jazz music, local music. I'm looking for that. It's quite hard to find. I don't know why. Let's go and take a look.
This is a great shop. I liked it a lot. There was a lot of choice. And actually, yes, there was a lot of Danish music, finally. But not only. There's a little bit of everything, as you can imagine. And once again, the relaxed feeling, the guy who helped me with my questions, who explained me that it's very difficult to find old school jazz, so I was starting to give up at this point. Nevertheless, for those of you who are interested in Danish music, I mean, meaning rock, pop, and other genres, there was a nice collection here. It was funny that they were playing Pino Daniele, a famous Italian artist. But I did manage to find a few, actually the first Danish jazz records, so not bad.
Hi guys, good evening. So what we're gonna see tonight is a true jam session, meaning improvisation. Where? At La Fontaine. It's one of the oldest, actually it's probably the oldest jazz club in Copenhagen. And today we're going to listen to the famous saxophonist Ian Harbeck with Ida Hvist and Janus Templeton. A trio, and some other people may join on the stage. I read online that happens a lot of times. Even Ben Webster climbed up and jammed once. So who knows what's going to happen? Let's go.
Right, friends, welcome to La Fontaine! All right, friends, now we are ready to start the jam session here at La Fontaine. Join us. It is the legendary singer and piano player Hans Knudsen, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe Hans, you can introduce what we will play. It's blues time, folks. Heaven please send to all mankind understanding and peace of mind. Like ice around my heart, I feel like I wanna quit somebody every time that feeling starts.
Someone just jumped on the stage.
too warm in there.
A lot of artists waiting in line to jam. Very cool. And after this fantastic session, finally just go back to my hotel, to my room, and discover the city practically empty. That was also something very strange. Nobody around, already around 11 or 11:30, things like that.
Our next stop is Sound Station. Should be a big shop. Again, this was suggested by another guy in another shop. I've practically changed shopping, finding these places, because otherwise it's quite difficult through Google. It's on the other side of the street. Let's take a look.
Sound Station. Oh yes. Probably the best place that I found in Copenhagen. This place is massive. It's huge. I mean, it's not like Amoeba Records clearly, but for the city it is very, very big. And they have a lot of specific genres with a wealth of selection. And a lot of famous people passed here and signed the records. Like you can see Jack White here, but also good old Steve Wilson and a lot of other artists. So it must be very famous here in Copenhagen. A lot of people stop by here. A lot of little rooms with a selection of 45s, with all these posters and achievements, the amount of sales done in records. Very odd, but intriguing. I mean, I love the sensation, the feeling of being here. And finally, here I did find a good selection at a, well, let's say decent price, because of what? Obviously of jazz records. Yes, finally I did find some, even though the majority is out of the 80s, unfortunately. Here it's a little more expensive than other shops, unfortunately. That's the only downside. Another great venue, the Louisiana. You have to go out of Copenhagen with a train, but it's very easy. And here you find this incredible modern art. It's one of the most famous, actually, museums in the world. Beautiful, beautiful how it's presented, the environment. It's completely surrounded by green. There are famous artists like Bacon, Giacometti, Andy Warhol, but also local artists, which were, I think, one of the most interesting and engaging I've seen here at Copenhagen. I loved it. It was just too short.
I never say this, but thumbs up if you're liking this video.
Also the famous Storyville label I was able to track down.
Okay guys, another record shop, Route 66. It looks promising. I know they have a jazz section. Let's take a look.
Here is another venue, a little more dedicated to modern electronic music, local and not local. Though, as you can see, there was a very interesting place downstairs.
Little stair going towards another underground section. Very cool. And it goes on and on.
Here I was able to find 2 albums of the precedent Storyville label, which was Famous because they recorded during the 80s mainly famous artists who were passing by Copenhagen. So the quality is amazing, and you have a different approach, different recordings, the Danish touch instead of the American touch. But as you can see, this place is already beautiful on its own. It's so cool to explore these places. I love that.
So guys, apart from the wonderful beers clearly that you can find here, from what I understood, it's quite difficult to eat typical Danish cuisine, plates, dishes. I'm sure you're gonna find that in private homes, but out in restaurants, as you know, I'm a foodie, that's why I'm talking about this. It's hard. There isn't that much. One typical dish, though, is the smørrebrød, which are these open sandwiches with rye bread, and they usually put salmon or smoked mackerel, as the one I'm about to eat, or prawns, or one of my favorite, the herring, with different kinds of herbs, vegetables, little sauces. Fantastic. I deeply and greatly love these little things. The only downside, I think, is that you have to eat them in a nice place like this, in restaurants. You can't just, well, there are a few kiosks or things like that, but they're hard to find. You usually find these in little places like this, cafes, sometimes bistro or restaurants, where you're gonna have to pay a little more and sit down and enjoy your meal, which is something positive. And in fact, the price aren't that popular. That's why I think that the concept is popular, but the price isn't, because we're around $20 more or less, which is a lot, but they're extremely good.
Another aspect that I loved about Copenhagen is that it's filled with green. It's filled with parks, a lot of huge trees, nice and shady, where people were enjoying themselves, just chatting and playing around, being together. I like that a lot.
Woo! After a long walk from the center, I'm finally here at Second Beat. They should have some good jazz. Let's take a look inside.
Now this is the best place to find original jazz recordings, like for example American releases, very rare releases. They were expensive, but not too expensive. And you guys, we finally reached the end of this video with this amazing parade.
Very lindo.
Thank you so much, Copenhagen, for your welcoming atmosphere. I loved it. I loved the smørrebrød. I love the jazz. I love the streets, the gardens. A great place to discover. Absolutely.
Well guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel, please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.